Welcome to Fewer Things Better. This is the place for all of us who are big on goals and short on time. Together, we'll explore smart, simple ideas on how to retrain your brain and unlock your life. I'm your host, Kristin Graham. Let's get started. Hey there. I'm starting today's topic with a few questions that are for you. Think back to the last thing that you bought for yourself recently. Not a practical thing, but something you intentionally wanted. How much did you spend on it? Now, think about giving a gift to a loved one. What's an amount that you can spend without having to think twice? And finally, would you tell your best friend how much money you have and how much money you make? Your answers to these are just for you. The intent was to see where, how, and to whom you might have a reaction on the subject of money. Research suggests that money is one of the most uncomfortable things for people to talk about. And a 2025 survey found that more Americans would rather discuss politics or religion than their own financial situation. And that's saying something. And recently, I heard someone say, no one ever talked to me about money growing up. And that hit hard. You see, it's really hard to update or outgrow a story that we haven't named. The bottom line on top of this episode is that what was said or wasn't said can silently shape our own beliefs and values about the role that money has in our life and the space it takes up in our brain. Money is not just math. We humans attach meaning to it. We make decisions based on it, and we often tie our sense of value to it. In the brain, our story about money is closely linked to our safety, our identity, and control. That's why money behavior rarely changes just because income or circumstances change. Now, I grew up in a house where money was stressful. Bills were talked about, but with tension, and only in what I overheard. They never actually spoke to us directly. So money, I came to believe, was something that adults would worry about. And what's interesting is that later in life, when I had my own family and had financial stability, those early messages were still evident. In fact, my kids will still tease me about how I will go out of my way to do a return for like $7. And it's true. I love getting money back. I love a good deal. And I can also recognize some of that as old wiring. And sometimes it feels like proof that I am being careful not to waste money. So let's take a look at what is happening in the brain during all of this. When we think about money, the brain doesn't stay purely logical. Our social and emotional circuitry, it lights up. This includes areas involved in our decision-making, our empathy, and our emotions, but also within our limbic system, which is deeply tied to keeping us safe. Money becomes a signal. Hey, am I secure? Do I have enough? What are other people thinking about my circumstances? That is why conversations about money can also trigger our own racing thoughts or racing heartbeat, or we find ourselves being avoidant or overthinking or impulsive. And having those reactions aren't signs that something's wrong. It's a sign that the nervous system learned something and is still trying to send you a message. Then there's also a reward component. The brain registers visible wins as proof that we are smart or careful or in control. That's why getting a small return like $7 can feel satisfying even when it actually took more time or energy than it was worth. On the flip side, avoidance becomes a tool that we also use in the short term to give us temporary relief. But cognitively, avoiding money just turns it into background noise, which then quickly drains our energy. And when we move from the brain to our personal behavior, there are two patterns that often show up around money: generosity and frugality. In circumstances where generosity goes too far, or where we were taught that indulgence was part of love, we will undercharge for our own value, or we might overgive or end up saying yes to just avoid discomfort. We will pay with money or time to keep things smooth or to express our emotions. On the other side, when there was scarcity as part of the story, frugality can go too far. We might delay rest, support, comfort, medical treatment, or even accepting help. We will overthink even small decisions. We're going to operate on far less than we would ever expect of others. Sometimes it even shows up with having difficulty receiving things from other people. And these are all understandable responses to the quiet stories we've been carrying. So in our story time, it's worth doing a fact check. Ask yourself, are there places or people where you are too generous with money, time, or energy? And are there places where you will intentionally be generous to avoid discomfort? Also, are there places where you are too frugal, especially with yourself, out of old habits or fear? And when you get uncomfortable about money, what reaction is most common? Do you find yourself avoiding something? Do you start to feel the burn of shame or anger? Or is there something else that comes up? And this is not about fixing your finances or running an internal audit. It's simply about noticing what your brain is telling you and deciding if that still serves you. How we act as adults with money, it's not about ignoring or erasing our previous history. It's about choosing which parts still get to be part of the operating system. Those meanings will stick around until we intentionally replace them with something that fits better who we are today. So in the week ahead, find a place to practice this. Make one intentional money decision. Say no to something that is asked that is underpriced, and say yes to a supportive spend or to receiving support with grace. Notice when you're chasing a small win. I do that with promo codes online way too much. And ask yourself, hey, is this 10% code that I just got worth the 20 minutes I just invested in searching for it? No. And finally, invest in something that is of service or delight to you, not just as a money exercise. Sometimes the best way to invest is with your time or less worry. Money matters not because it defines us, but because it reveals how we value our time, our energy, and ourselves. It's okay to outgrow a long ago story. We can still acknowledge it and move on from it. The important part is deciding what story you want to live now. Take care to take care of your money, because it's here to take care of you. For more Fewer Things Better, find us over on YouTube or join our newsletter at unlockthebrain.com/newsletter. See you next time.